The Hunger Games, Catching Fire. As you prepare for rest, let this summary serve as a gentle companion to the world of Catching Fire. This condensed retelling is a soft invitation to explore the full brilliance of Suzanne Collins' original work. While these words offer a calming path to sleep, the true depth of the story awaits in the richness of the pages themselves. Breathe slowly now. Let your shoulders drop. Let the day go, all of it, every corner of it, and settle somewhere warm and still. We are going back to a story you may know, or perhaps one you are meeting for the first time, and either way tonight it belongs entirely to you. It will unfold at a gentle pace, the way rivers move in late afternoon, the way snow falls when there is no wind. You don't have to hold on to any of it. Just let it drift through you and carry you somewhere deep and soft and quiet. It begins in winter. A cold, grey, silent kind of winter that presses down over the mountains and the valleys and settles like a held breath over a place called the Seam, which is the poorest part of a poor district in a country that has forgotten what kindness looks like. This is District 12. It smells of coal dust and wood smoke, and the particular kind of quiet that belongs to places where people have learned not to expect too much. And somewhere inside a small house at the edge of the Seam, Katniss Everdeen is sitting at her kitchen table, staring at nothing, thinking about fire. She has been home for months now. She came back from the Hunger Games, the brutal spectacle where 2 young people from each of the 12 districts are sent to fight and die for the entertainment of the capital. And she came back alive, which almost no one does, and she came back with Peter Mellark, the baker's son, who also survived, which has never happened before. 2 victors. 1 impossible outcome. The whole thing happened because Katniss reached for a handful of poisonous berries and held them up in the darkness of the arena, a gesture so quiet and so defiant that it sent a tremor through the country that has not stopped trembling since. The capital noticed. The capital notices everything. And now there is a visitor coming to her door, not a neighbor, not a friend, not anyone she would choose to see on a cold winter morning, but President Snow himself. He comes quietly without the usual fanfare, as if he is dropping by for tea, and he sits in her kitchen and he speaks to her in a voice that is very soft and very precise. The way a scalpel is precise, and what he says is this. The gesture with the berries was seen by people across all 12 districts as an act of defiance. A spark. And sparks, he explains, with the particular patience of someone who has never needed to raise his voice, must be extinguished before they become fires. He smells of roses and blood. He tells Katniss that she must convince the districts during the upcoming victory tour that what she did was not rebellion but love, a desperate, lovesick act by a girl who could not bear to lose the boy she loved. She must be convincing, not just convincing to the cameras, convincing to him. He will be watching and he will know if she is lying, and if she is lying, the people she loves will pay for it. He leaves. The kitchen is very quiet after he goes. Katniss sits with her hands in her lap and the cold light coming through the window, and she thinks about what it means to be watched all the time, to be a symbol you didn't choose, to have a spark taken out of your hands and made into something enormous before you even understood what you were holding. The victor's village is where she lives now. A row of grand empty houses built for past winners of the games, most of them long since dead or drunk or both. Katniss's family has moved in with her. Her mother, quiet and distant, her sister Prim, who is 13 and bright-eyed and the best person Katniss knows, and their goat lady. Hamish Abernathy lives nearby, the only other living victor from District 12, a man who has been drinking steadily for 20 years because it is the only way he has found to live with what he has seen. He is difficult and unwashed and sometimes brilliant, and Katniss trusts him more than almost anyone. Peter lives in the victor's village too. He and Katniss are supposed to be in love, the star-crossed lovers whose romance captured the hearts of the capital, and they are supposed to still be in love, for Snow's benefit, for the cameras, for the story that has to hold. But the truth is more complicated and more tender and harder to name than any story the capital could tell. Peter loves Katniss genuinely, with a steadiness that has never wavered, and Katniss doesn't know exactly what she feels, which is its own kind of honesty. She knows she needs him. She knows she is not pretending everything. But the line between what is real and what is performance has been walked so long it has worn smooth beneath her feet, and she cannot always see where it leads. There is also Gale. Gale Hawthorne, her hunting partner since childhood, who knows the woods the way she does, who is dark-haired and handsome and angry in the slow-burning way of someone who has been angry a long time, and has finally stopped trying to put it out. Gale loves her. She knows it, and she doesn't know what to do with it, and she thinks about it in the early mornings when they go out to hunt in the woods beyond the fence, and the trees are bare and the ground is cold and hard, and their breath makes small clouds in the still air. Out here among the trees things are simpler. There are no cameras in the woods. There is only the cold and the quiet and the distant sound of birds, and for a little while she can just be a girl with a bow. The victory tour begins. A train comes for them, long and sleek and very capital, all warmth and excess and the smell of expensive food, and Katniss and Peter are dressed in their costumes and prepared by their stylist Cinna, who has loved them both with a quiet, fierce loyalty that expresses itself in the language of cloth and fire. The train moves through the cold country, and the districts pass outside the windows like chapters in a book she is only beginning to understand. They go to District 11 first, which is the agricultural district, the one that grows food for a capital that never thanks them for it. District 11 was the home of Rue, the 12-year-old girl who became Katniss's ally in the arena, who reminded Katniss of Prim, who died in Katniss's arms while Katniss sang to her. And it was the home of Thresh, the enormous, quiet boy who spared Katniss's life in the arena out of something that could only be called honor. Katniss stands before the assembled crowd of District 11, a district full of people who are brown from the sun and careful in the way that people are careful when they have learned that feeling things openly can be dangerous, and she speaks. She says something she means. She says that Rue was her ally and her friend, and that she hopes what little she could do for Rue in the arena was some comfort to her, and that she still thinks about her. She says she will never forget her. And something happens. An old man in the crowd raises his hand to his lips and then extends 3 fingers outward. A gesture from District 12, an old gesture, the one that means respect and love and farewell all at once. And then the whole crowd does it. Thousands of people, all raising 3 fingers in the quiet grey afternoon, all looking at Katniss with something in their eyes that is not just grief but something larger and more dangerous. And Katniss feels the weight of it, the enormous fragile weight of what it means to be seen by people who have been invisible for a very long time. A peacekeeper's whistle blows. There is movement. Someone is grabbed from the crowd. There is a sound, a crack, a silence, and then it is over, and Katniss is hustled back to the train and the train moves, and through the windows she watches District 11 shrink behind her, and she sits very still with her hands in her lap, and something has shifted in her understanding of the world, and it will not shift back. The tour continues. District after district. Cameras and crowds and speeches, and Peter beside her, steady and warm, saying all the right things. They get engaged, or rather, the Capitol decides they are getting engaged, because nothing is better for a love story than a proposal. And so there is a ring and a moment and a crowd going wild, and it is all very beautiful and almost entirely performative, and Katniss looks at Peter's face while the cameras are rolling, and she thinks, he means it though. He means every word. And she doesn't know what that costs him to keep offering to someone who is still not sure what she is offering in return. They come home to District 12. But District 12 is different now. The peacekeepers are new. The old ones had been there long enough to become almost human, to look the other way when people slipped under the fence, to accept the occasional wild turkey in exchange for not asking questions. The new ones have no such accommodations. They are brisk and cold and uniformed, and they enforce the rules fully, which in District 12 means people go hungry faster than before because Katniss and Gale can no longer hunt as freely, and the black market in the Hob has been shut down. The Hob was the centre of District 12's underground economy, a dark, crowded building full of traders and gossip and warmth, and now it has been burned. The ashes are still warm when Katniss walks past them. Gale is flogged. She hears about it, and she runs to the town square, and she sees him, her Gale, her partner, the boy she grew up alongside, tied to a post and being whipped by a new head peacekeeper named Thread, who has a flat, expressionless face and no apparent interest in restraint. Katniss throws herself between the whip and Gale's back, and she takes the lash across her face because she cannot stand there and watch and do nothing. Peter pulls her away. Haymitch pulls Gale free. They carry Gale home, and Katniss's mother, who is a healer when she chooses to be, who retreated into herself after Katniss's father died but who has been slowly finding her way back, tends to him through the night. Gale, feverish and bleeding, says something important. He says that they could run, just the two of them or the whole family, into the woods away, but Katniss knows now that running is not enough, because the forests end somewhere, because the Capitol is everywhere, because the thing that is burning in the districts cannot be outrun, only met. And then the announcement comes. It is the 75th anniversary of the Hunger Games, which means it is a Quarter Quell, a special edition of the Games, held every 25 years, where the Capitol introduces an extra twist to remind the districts that there is no limit to what can be done to them. Katniss watches President Snow on the television, his white rose in his lapel, his careful, controlled expression, and he reads from the card that has apparently been sealed for 75 years, the card that announces what the special rule will be this year. And the rule is this: for the 75th Hunger Games, the tributes are to be reaped from the existing pool of victors. The existing pool of victors. There is only one female victor alive from District 12. Katniss Everdeen. She is going back into the arena. She watches his face when he says it. She watches the small twitch at the corner of Snow's mouth that is not quite a smile but is the ghost of one. He designed this. She knows it the way she knows the grain of wood or the weight of a bowstring. He designed this specifically for her, packaged it as a rule that has existed for 75 years, but aimed it like an arrow at her chest. He is going to put her back in the arena because she survived once, which made her a symbol, and the only way to destroy a symbol is to destroy the person wearing it. There is no reaping in the usual sense. Katniss volunteers before there can be. Haymitch is the only male victor, and so Peter volunteers for Haymitch, which Haymitch is not pleased about but cannot stop. So it will be Katniss and Peter again, the same two people, the same star-crossed lovers back in the arena because the Capitol has decided that one time was not enough. The weeks before the games have a particular quality to them, suspended, slow, the way time moves when you know something is coming that cannot be stopped. Katniss trains with Peter. They sleep in the same room because the nightmares are worse alone, and they lie side by side in the dark and listen to each other breathe, and neither of them says what they are thinking, which is, "I cannot watch you die again. I cannot go through this again. I don't know how people survive the same impossible thing twice." Cinna dresses her for the opening ceremonies. He always dresses her in fire. She is the girl on fire, it is what she has always been, but this time he does something extraordinary. He gives her a wedding dress because the Capitol has been demanding she wear one ever since the engagement. And then as she turns on her platform, the dress catches, transforms, and she becomes something else entirely. The white burns away and what is left beneath is black, and from the black fabric emerge wings or flames or feathers. It is hard to say where one ends and the other begins, and she stands with her arms extended in the rising smoke, and she looks like a mockingjay. A bird that should not exist. A bird that was an accident of rebellion, born when Jabberjays, Capitol spy birds, mated with wild mockingbirds and produced something the Capitol had never intended. A bird that not only mimicked sound but transformed it into something new. A symbol of unintended consequences. A symbol of what happens when the Capitol's own creations turn against it. The crowd screams. Katniss stands in her mockingjay dress and she looks out at the screaming and she thinks, Cinna knew exactly what he was doing. He has been doing it all along. In the training center, Katniss and Peter meet the other victors. These are the survivors of previous games, people who have been living with what they did and what was done to them for years, decades, carrying it quietly in their bodies, managing it with alcohol or obsessive work or by retreating so far into themselves that the outside world cannot reach them anymore. They are not what Katniss expected. She expected hardness. She finds hardness, yes, but also warmth and humor, and a kind of solidarity she has never been offered before. They have all been through the arena. They are the only people in the world who know what she knows, who have felt what she has felt, who woke up screaming for years after and still got up and kept going. Something passes among them in the training center that is like recognition. There is Finnick Ogier from District 4, beautiful in the way that very few people are beautiful, like something carved rather than born, with sea-green eyes and the easy confidence of someone who has been admired his whole life. He is known as the Capitol's darling, the victor everyone is dazzled by, and Katniss doesn't trust him at first because beautiful people who are also charming and also connected to the Capitol are people she has learned to be wary of. He offers her sugar, a small sugar cube, held out on his palm, and she doesn't take it, and he smiles as if she has done exactly what he expected. She will understand him later. She will understand that what she read as arrogance was armor, and what she read as ease was a performance so long practiced it has become nearly indistinguishable from the self. Finnick Odair is not what he appears to be. Almost no one here is. There is Johanna Mason from District 7, sharp and bright-eyed and deliberately crude, who strips off her clothes in the elevator without embarrassment while Peter stares at the ceiling, and who says things designed to make people flinch, because she has decided that if the world is going to be brutal, she will be brutal back and at least be honest about it. Katniss respects this even while she doesn't entirely like it. There is Beatty and Wyres from District 3, Beatty, precise and brilliant and very comfortable with wires and electricity. Wyres, who speaks in fragments and loops back and repeats herself, but who Johanna grudgingly admits is never wrong. Nuts and bolts, Johanna calls them, which is unkind but sticks. They are brilliant in ways that will matter enormously later. There is Mags from District 4, very old, very small, mostly incomprehensible because a stroke has taken most of her words. But she makes fish hooks out of anything, and she is Finnick's mentor. And she loves him with the uncomplicated fullness of someone who has known someone a very long time. She volunteers for the games to protect Annie Crester, the young woman Finnick loves, who lost her mind somewhat in a previous arena and who is fragile in ways that an arena would destroy. Mags goes instead. She goes calmly. She says goodbye with her hands. The night before the games, Haymitch tells them something important, tells them to remember who the real enemy is. Not each other, not the other tributes, the Capitol. He says it clearly, plainly, and then they go to their separate beds and lie in the dark and wait for morning. Katniss cannot sleep. She goes to Peter's room and she lies beside him and she says, "If either of us is going to survive this, it has to be him. She has decided. She has decided it the way you decide things that cannot be undone, quietly and completely in the dark. She will keep him alive. That is her purpose in the arena this time. Not to win, to make sure he does." Peter says no. He has decided the same thing in the opposite direction. They lie side by side and disagree about who is going to sacrifice themselves for the other, which is a strange and tender kind of argument to have, and eventually they stop arguing and just breathe, and the room is quiet, and the capital city hums its electric hum outside the window, and morning is coming whether they want it or not. The arena this year is a circle. A perfect circle, the jungle growing dense and dark around the outer edges, and in the very center a salt lake, and above everything the blinding white tropical sun. The cornucopia, the golden horn full of weapons and supplies, sits on a metal platform in the center of the lake, and around it the tributes rise on their platforms in the warm salt water, all watching each other across the glittering surface, all calculating, all waiting for the gong. The gong sounds. The water explodes with movement. Katniss dives and swims and reaches the cornucopia, and the chaos of the bloodbath begins. The terrible opening minutes of every games where the tributes who are fastest and most ruthless try to secure weapons and eliminate competition all at once. Katniss grabs a bow. Of course she does. A bow finds her hand the way water finds its level, naturally, inevitably, as if the bow was always hers and has simply been waiting. Peter nearly drowns. He is not the strongest swimmer, and the water is choppy and he goes under, and Katniss screams his name with a terror that is entirely real, entirely unperformed, because whatever she has been uncertain about in terms of her feelings for him, there is nothing uncertain about the fact that she cannot watch him die. Finnick pulls him up. Finnick, who she doesn't trust, pulls Peter out of the water and breathes air into him on the platform and gives him back to her, and Katniss aims her arrow at Finnick's throat with hands that are completely steady, and Finnick looks at her over the point of the arrow and says calmly, "Haymitch sent me," and she lowers the bow. An alliance forms. Katniss and Peter with Finnick and Mags, moving together through the jungle, which is beautiful and lethal in equal measure. The way tropical places sometimes are lush green light filtering down through the canopy, bright birds calling to each other in the high branches. The smell of salt and flowers, and somewhere beneath it, always the smell of something wrong. The arena is designed to kill them. That is always the design. But this arena is designed with a particular elegance, a cruelty that has been carefully planned and implemented, and then dressed up in jungle clothes. The fog comes first. It rolls in at night, silent and yellow-white, and where it touches skin it burns not like fire burns but like acid, a deep wrong burning that is not just on the surface but goes through, and the tributes who breathe it choke and convulse. They run from it, crashing through the dark jungle, and Mags, old Mags, small Mags, who cannot move as fast as the others, falls behind. And then she does something that takes Katniss's breath away. Finnick is carrying Peter, who has been paralyzed by the fog's touch, and he cannot carry Mags too, and Mags knows this. She looks at Finnick for a long moment. She puts her hand on his face. She walks into the fog. Finnick makes a sound that Katniss has never heard from a person before and never wants to hear again. He makes it once, and then he is quiet, and he carries Peter, and they keep moving. The monkeys come next. A wave of them, orange-furred and shrieking and armed with claws and teeth, descending from the trees in a coordinated attack that can only have been triggered by the arena itself. And in the chaos of the attack, one of them goes for Peter, and a girl named Wyress steps in front of him, steps directly into the path of what was meant for him, and takes the injury herself. Katniss drives the monkeys back with her bow. She kills them until the wave breaks and recedes. She stands panting in the sudden silence of the jungle and looks at Peter, who is unhurt and looking at her with that expression he sometimes has, an expression of such complete and grateful and wondering love that it is almost too much to look at directly. Then the rain. Blood-warm salt rain that falls in one sector of the arena like a curtain, and beyond the curtain the sound of screaming. Not just screaming, specific screaming. The voices of people they love. Peter hears his family. Katniss hears Prim. She hears her little sister's voice, high and frightened, crying out from behind the wall of rain, and every instinct in her body says, go to her now, and she starts forward and Finnick stops her, holds her back, and she fights him because Prim is in there. Prim is crying and Finnick says, it's not real, it's the arena, it's a trap. And she knows he is right, and she cannot make herself believe it, and she collapses to her knees in the mud and covers her ears and waits for the screaming to stop. The arena is a clock. This is what Wyress understands before anyone else. This is what she has been trying to say, looping and repeating in her strange, fragmented way. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The arena is divided into 12 sectors like a clock face, and each sector activates on a schedule, fog at a certain hour, monkeys at a certain hour, blood rain at a certain hour, and if you know the clock, if you can read it, you can survive. You can be somewhere else when the horror arrives. Beatty, when he understands what Wyress has worked out, looks at her with a reverence that is one of the most moving things Katniss witnesses in that jungle. Wyress is killed before she can tell them more. Gloss from District 1 cuts her throat while she is standing in the shallows of the salt lake singing to herself. The way she sometimes did. The way fragile people sometimes do when the world is too loud and singing, is the only thing that keeps it at a manageable distance. Katniss kills Gloss a moment later, and Johanna kills Gloss's sister Kashmir in the same exchange, and it is over in seconds and Wyress is gone, and the water around the cornucopia is pink, and Beatty stands very still for a moment, as if something has gone out of the air near him. They rest when they can. They eat when they can. The jungle gives them water, collecting it from leaves, from certain vines, and the sponsors send gifts down through the silver parachutes that drift through the canopy, small packages of food or medicine or a single night vision lens that Katniss uses to see through the dark. The sponsors are watching. The Capitol is watching. Everyone is always watching, and Katniss has been watched her whole life and she has never gotten used to it and she suspects she never will. Peter paints. He has a gift for it, has always had a gift for it, for making things that look like other things, for camouflage and color and the patience required to get something exactly right. In the arena, he uses mud and plant juice to paint something on a large flat stone. And what he paints is Rue, small and brown-skinned and bright-eyed, with flowers in her hair, the way Katniss wreathed her body in flowers in the arena last year. It is beautiful and it is an act of quiet grief, and it is also, Katniss thinks, a message to whoever is watching. We remember all of them. We will not let them be nothing. The Alliance holds through the days and the horrors. Johanna joins them and there is a spiky, volatile quality to Johanna's presence that Katniss finds both exhausting and secretly comforting. Johanna does not pretend to feel things she doesn't feel, which is refreshing in a world made entirely of performances. Beatty joins them, wiry and precise, already thinking about something, already working something out in the mathematical space behind his eyes. And Finnick. Katniss has been watching Finnick since the training center and she has been revising her understanding of him day by day in the arena. He fights with a trident that he uses with a grace that is almost beautiful to watch. He ties knots for Mags when she asks for them, which is often, and the knots are always perfect. He sleeps lightly and wakes quickly. He swims in the salt lake in the evenings when there is a quiet hour, and he floats on his back with his eyes closed, and he looks, in those moments, like someone who is very tired and allowing himself to rest. She thinks about Annie Crester, the girl he loves, the girl who lost herself in the arena years ago. She thinks about what it costs to love someone that completely in a world designed to take things from you. She thinks about Peter. She thinks about him constantly, the way you think about something essential, the way you think about breathing or warmth, not because you have decided to think about it, but because it is the thing your mind returns to when nothing else is occupying it. She has spent so long not knowing what she feels that she has become fluent in the language of not knowing, and sometimes she thinks, is not knowing its own kind of answer? Is the fact that she thinks about him in the quiet moments between horrors the thing she has been unable to say out loud? Beatty has a plan. He explains it with the focused calm of someone describing a mathematical proof, which to him it essentially is. There is a lightning tree at the 12 o'clock position of the clock arena. A great tree that has been struck by lightning so many times it has become a conductor, a focal point, a place where the sky's electricity is collected and released on a schedule as reliable as anything in this arena. At midnight and at noon, lightning strikes the tree. Beatty's plan is to run a wire, the wire he has been carrying since the bloodbath, thin and metallic and very conductive, from the tree down to the salt water of the lake. When the lightning strikes, the current will travel down the wire and into the water and electrocute anyone who is in the water at that moment, which will be the career tributes whom Beatty has arranged to be there. It is elegant. It is practical. It is Beatty all over. They work. They unspooling the wire carefully through the jungle, and it is careful, painstaking work, threading the wire through the trees and the undergrowth, making sure it does not tangle or break, keeping it hidden from the cameras as much as possible. The career tributes are not far away. Time is moving. The clock is ticking. And then Katniss's alliance splits. Something goes wrong, there is a struggle, a sound, a sudden dispersal into the jungle, and Katniss finds herself alone in the dark near the lightning tree with the wire in her hands and Beatty unconscious on the ground beside her and no Peter anywhere she can see or hear. She calls his name once softly into the dark, and the jungle gives her nothing back. She does not know exactly what is happening or why, or what the plan has become now that it has broken apart. But she knows the lightning tree. She knows the wire. She knows that the arena is a circle and the water is a conductor and the lightning will strike at midnight, which is very close now. And she has spent her whole life in a world that has tried to make her feel small and powerless, and she is done feeling small and powerless, and so she does something that is either brilliant or crazy or both, which are the only options she has ever really been offered. She takes the wire. She ties it to an arrow. She looks up at the lightning tree, enormous above her, crackling and alive with the electricity it has absorbed over years of being struck from the sky. She aims the arrow at the force field, the dome that covers the arena that keeps them in and the outside out, that is itself a kind of power, a kind of wall. And she draws the bowstring back to her cheek, and she holds it there for one long moment, feeling the tension of the string against her fingers and the weight of everything that has led to this moment, all the dead, all the surviving, all the choosing and not choosing and being chosen. And then she releases. The arrow flies upward on its wire. The lightning strikes, the current travels. The force field screams and cracks, and the light is so bright it wipes out everything, and Katniss is flung backward by the force of it, and she hits the ground, and then she is in the air. No, she is being carried, and there is a hovercraft above her, and ropes and hands. And the jungle is falling away below her as she rises up into the cool night air above the arena, and she cannot quite understand what is happening, only that it is happening, and the arena is burning below her, and she is alive and she is free, and she does not yet know the cost of it. She wakes on a hovercraft. The ceiling above her is metal and clean, and the light is steady and artificial, and everything is very still. She is not in the arena. She is not in the Capitol. She is somewhere else entirely. She lies very still and takes inventory. She is alive, she is whole, there is a tube in her arm, someone has treated the burns on her hands. The hovercraft hums around her. Haymitch is there. And Plutarch Heavensby, the new head game maker, the man who designed this year's arena, the man who danced with her at a party in the Capitol and showed her a watch with a mockingjay on its face and smiled as if they shared a secret she didn't know they had. He is here. They are both here, Haymitch explains. What Haymitch explains changes the shape of everything she thought she understood. There has been a plan, a real plan, a larger plan than she knew, running through the games this whole time. Not all the victors were simply surviving. Some of them were protecting her. Beatty's wire plan was not just about killing careers in the water. It was always about destroying the arena's force field, about getting Katniss out, because Katniss is the Mockingjay, and the Mockingjay is the symbol the revolution needs. The rebellion has been growing in the districts for months. The sparks she lit are fires now. And all of these people have been working to keep her alive because what she represents cannot be extinguished. She absorbs this. She absorbs it the way you absorb something enormous, in pieces slowly, with a kind of numbness that is the body's way of protecting you from understanding too much at once. And then she asks about Peter, and the silence that follows her question is the worst silence of her life. Peter was not on the hovercraft. The Capitol got to him. He and Johanna were both captured in the confusion after the arena was destroyed, and they are in the Capitol now, in the hands of people who have no interest in keeping them comfortable. And Katniss does not need to be told what that means because she already knows. She has always known what the Capitol does with people it wants to break. She screams. She fights. She tries to get to Haymitch, and she is held back by people she cannot see clearly through the tears and the rage. And Haymitch looks at her with the face of someone who has made terrible choices for good reasons and knows he will have to live with them. And he says, "We are going to get him back, Katniss. I will not leave him there. I will get him back." She goes still. The stillness of someone who has used up all the immediate options and is now waiting white-knuckled for the next thing. The hovercraft hums. Below them somewhere the Capitol glitters. And somewhere in the Capitol Peter is beginning to understand what it costs to have been chosen as the person Katniss loves. There is one more thing Haymitch tells her. District 12, the cold district, the seam, the victor's village with its empty houses, the hob with its warm darkness and its traders is gone. The Capitol bombed it. They burned it entirely, the way you burn something you want to make sure stays gone. There is nothing left. The 12 is ash and memory. But her family got out. Gale got them out. He took Prim and her mother and as many people as he could, and he led them into the woods, into the trees they both know like the lines of their own hands, and they are alive, and they are going to District 13. District 13, which was supposed to have been destroyed in a war long ago, which the Capitol has been using as a cautionary tale for years. Look what happens to districts that rebel, look at this ash and silence. Except that it was not destroyed. It went underground. It has been there all along, beneath the surface, building and waiting and surviving in the dark, and it is real and it is alive and it is ready, and the people of all 12 districts are rising and the war has begun. Katniss lies back on the hovercraft bunk and closes her eyes. She is going to District 13. She is the Mockingjay. She did not choose to be the Mockingjay, and she still is not sure what she thinks about being the Mockingjay, and she will deal with all of that later, after she has slept, after she has let her burned hands heal, after the hum of the aircraft has become a low, constant lullaby, and the stars outside the small window are steady and cold and far away. The world is on fire. She started it, in the small terrified practical act of reaching for a handful of berries in the dark. She did not mean to start a revolution. She meant to keep the boy she loves alive. And both of those things are true at the same time, and she holds them both, and the hovercraft flies on through the dark, carrying her away from everything she knew toward everything that comes next. But that is a story for another night. For now, let it all go. Let the arena fade. Let the jungle grow quiet and still. Let Katniss rest somewhere high above the world in the hum of an engine in the steady, cool dark. She is alive, the fire is burning. And you are here and warm and safe, and it is time to sleep now. Let the story carry you. Let your breathing slow. Let the images soften at the edges until they are just impressions, a flash of firelight, a green canopy, a hand reaching for another hand in the dark. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to figure out. Just the slow drift downward into the deep, quiet place where all stories go when they are done for the night. Sleep well.